Welcome to the Fergus Falls Business Spotlight Podcast, the show that takes a deep dive into local businesses and the individuals that run our community. To guide you along the way, here's your host, Jacob Bittner.
Oh, welcome into another episode. This will be a fun one. I'm out here on site at Acres of Eden Farm with Joel and Shawn. So, Joel, this is a family operation of yours, or it's been in the family for a long time. Shawn, you are relatively new. You are the marketing guy. People have probably seen you out at like the farmer's market, running the farmer's market stand and all that stuff. So, this is going to be a really fun episode. It's going to be very, very much so a community-based, community-driven. That's kind of the heart of your guys' operation here is the farm. It's a circular farm. We'll get into what that means and the sustainability of that. But obviously, we're driven by the need for a circular community in general and figuring out what that looks like for Fergus. So I'm really excited to uncover your guys' story, share about the farm for those people that haven't heard of it or don't even know you guys exist out here. So, we got a few sponsors to mention. I just poured in your guys' glass here. This is the beer of the week. It's Hello Gorgeous. So, talk to me about your experiences at Outstate. Have you had Hello Gorgeous here?
I've never had it before.
Ooh. Well, this is a treat here. This is a Thanksgiving episode we're doing. The people are probably getting this on or around Thanksgiving. So this is another feature in the Uncommon Cream Ale series. This pumpkin pie spice treat is easy to drink and a great way to reel in the transition to winter. So we've got
cheers.
Cheers. We've got a delicious treat here with the Hello Gorgeous, along with Outstate Brewing, Atlas Outdoor Services, Stumbeano's, Victor Lundeen's, Liberty Business Systems, Wayne Schuett with Century 21, and of course, you guys are all great sponsors of the show. So I appreciate all of the support. And I don't know who wants to go first here, Joel or Shawn. Maybe we'll do Shawn's background because it'll maybe be quicker, and yours probably ties in more to the background of the business. But Shawn, who is Shawn Crone? Where do you come from?
Raised most of my life.
You have to get into that mic.
Raised most of my life in the desert, Arizona.
Okay.
Formative years, and moved around quite a bit. Last place I lived before Fergus was Seattle.
Okay.
And moved to the area spring of 2020. And
Okay. And how'd you get hooked up with Shawn or with Joel here at the farm?
We
actually met at my daughter's birthday party.
Yep. So my daughter Adelaide was coming to her birthday party or invited out, and we were all just kind of hanging around and talking about life and what's good with life, and started talking about the farm, and that's good. And
how does
how
does your background tie into what's your background that tied you into this or got you interested in this? You have a marketing background?
No. Just for the love of promoting something that I want to stand for, and that's clean sources and just knowing what you're eating and drinking, where that's coming from, and community and all those things together. And coming out here and observing what's out here, it was inspiring. And so just wanted to be a part of something like that here and where I'm living my life.
Awesome. Well, welcome to Fergus Falls. You're relatively new to the community. We welcome you. I enjoy having you around. It's been nice to get to know you. I don't know, you and I probably met at Outstate originally. That's where I meet everybody, I feel like, is Outstate.
Yeah.
But it's been really nice to get to know you. It's nice to have you in this community. So
thank you. The same.
And it's cool. We'll touch on more about what you guys do, but you guys are mainly a lot of chickens. There's a lot of chickens out here.
Yeah.
There's a lot of mealworms.
Yeah, we have a lot of chickens. We got quite a fair amount of beef, not like anything huge, but pasture-raised, grass-fed beef, and then mealworms. And we still, I do crops and alfalfa and that too. So a lot going on.
Alfalfa is your main crop, or what
I would say yes. Alfalfa is my main crop. I market some of it. Most of it, though, is used in feed for the beef cows or the chickens even. I'll mix it in with the chicken feed.
Okay. Because that's the whole idea of circular farming. You kind of do everything to support your operation, and then the byproducts you get out of that, you
market
and export. And that is the mealworms feed your chickens, and you obviously, the eggs is a big part of your operation. As is the mealworms. You can sell those to other people as well.
So. We're trying to raise mealworms, and then we're working on getting soldier fly larvae established too. And the soldier fly larvae will be mainly fed to the chickens, and then the mealworms will be a market. And then, but what's nice is that when we have mealworms or beetles that we need to cull, I have a place to feed them, so they're utilized instead of just wasted and thrown away.
Gotcha. And beef, you raise a bunch of beef?
I do.
Okay.
Yep.
Is that on site here, or is that?
Yep.
Okay, it is. That must be over on the other side of the operation?
It's just where you can't see.
Okay.
But yeah, it's right over there, and they're out on pasture, 80 acres of pasture. I have about 30 head. Okay. 30 cows, and then all the calves, bulls, everything else too. But
okay. And the meat you guys sell at the farmers market, is that all you source from you guys, or is that other farms, just you guys? Okay.
Just us right now. So,
okay.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah, we do. And our beef is a little unique. So I'm working on bringing Wagyu genetics into my line. So they're a crossbred between lowline Angus, Jersey, and then Wagyu. That would probably be the three big genetics in it. But I'm really going for a top quality marbling beef, but raised really healthily.
Okay.
So yeah.
Nice. I had a steak. I don't think it came from you guys, but it was like a local steak the other day, and it was so good. So shout out Zane for being the best home cook I've ever had. But local beef, local meat is far superior when it comes down to it. There's a huge
taste difference.
Absolutely.
Like, you go buy something at Walmart, it just has this unique taste. And it's not the right unique taste. So,
right. Well, we'll get into more of the operation and kind of all that. But Joel, tell me a little bit about your background here. You grew up on this farm, or?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah. My dad bought this farm in the 70s. And I was born in 86. So, and then there's a generational gap between my father and I. So he was 57 when he had me. So he retired at 62 when I was 5.
Wow.
Yep. But he still kept farming. So he didn't farm as much, but he kept some back, rented out some land, sold some land. And then so I grew up kind of, I wouldn't say a hobby farm, but it was just a downsized farm. But it still was enough to give me a desire to farm. I guess I would say.
Was your dad, what year was he born?
1929.
And did he grow up on this farm?
He did not.
Okay.
No, he grew up north of Fergus, grew up in the community. His dad actually, so he grew up in the Depression era. And so his father originally lost his farm in the Depression.
Wow.
And so they moved around a lot and rented farms, kept farming. And then when my dad was 17, he lost his mother, and he was one of the oldest children. So then there was a lot of, a bigger responsibility was brought on his shoulders and his older sister's shoulders to help take care of the family and farm and, everything that goes on back then. So, and then he went into Korea. Or before he was drafted, his dad told him, you might as well enlist and be with people that wanted to be there. So he went off to joined the military, and then came back and started working for Otter Tail Power.
Okay. And
then from there, started farming himself and bought a little farm north of Clitheroe, and I can keep going down my dad's journey if you want to hear.
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested in it because we're going to get into the history of farming here and sort of how that transitioned away. Obviously, throughout the years, the commercialization of farming really took over. The technology of the tractor, commercialization of farming and land, acquisitions and all of that stuff has sort of kind of pushed out the small man, the middleman. But what it's really did in, I guess, that period of time, probably throughout your dad's life, the Great Depression, is it really moved away from people growing their own food or supplying them. A lot of people used to just supply their own. Everybody had a garden. And now hardly anybody. Well, I shouldn't say that, but the amount of people that actually grow gardens now is just very, very low.
Yep.
Everybody goes to the grocery store. That's where you get your food. You get your food from the grocery store. That's what everybody knows.
Yep.
And so I'm interested in that transition. And however you want to touch on that, I mean, your dad's life and I guess the growth of the farm. Yeah.
So like when he grew up farming, they started with horses. That's how he started farming. And they had threshing routes. And what a threshing route was, and these are all stories, that my dad would tell me. And so, because I didn't see this, but these stories, they stayed with me. So, and then I'll get into that later on. But the threshing route was a community farming event. It wasn't just everyone had their threshing machine. No, it was the whole farm community had one threshing machine that they all went to different farms and they all worked together to harvest all the crop. So agriculture back then, you needed your neighbor. You needed a support system. And that developed good friendships. And I mean, I'm sure they butted heads too, but there was a lot of teary-eyed stories from my father of his neighbors doing stuff that now I'm even going to get choked up, that saved their family. So it was, agriculture. It wasn't just about the food. It wasn't about providing a product and making money. It was a lifestyle.
Yeah.
And farming still is a lifestyle today. I'll definitely say that. But that lifestyle back then was something special. It was a lot of hard work, close to death. I mean, there's tons of times that what they did was close, they risked their lives. But that also, I think the closer sometimes you are to death, the closer you are to living.
Yeah.
So, so then he started out with that. And then he got back into farming after the military and started working at Otter Tail Power. He started farming part-time, bought a farm. And that was the time tractors had already started getting involved and agriculture started to change after World War II. Chemicals, synthetic fertilizers started to come in. And that's when I think really agriculture started to make a big swing. And it was a push to bring cheaper food to the public is really what that push was. And, you can say that less expensive food is better. But I would actually argue with that because there's always a balance and there's always a cost.
Right.
So if you charge less or there's something that has to give. And so what gave was the nutrient density of food, the overall taste of food. There's a lot that goes into making a very healthy product. And I think we lost that.
Yeah. My assistant here, some of the notes my assistant has about the history and commercialization of farming here. It says farming began somewhere, 10,000 BC is obviously probably before that if mankind goes, depending on new earth, old earth theory. But, real evidence of farming and those kind of societies, farming societies, sort of starts to arise. Evidence of it, 10,000 BC. Innovations like plowing and all of that came around. Irrigation systems, they said, between 5,000, 3,000 BC. Terrace farming started to arise around, that BC to AC or AD era. And then really, like everything, the Industrial Revolution in the 1700s introduced commercial farming with land enclosures, selective breeding and tools like the seed drill. 19th century mechanization began with steam-powered machines, later evolving into gasoline-powered tractors. Tractors replaced horse-drawn plows, enabling farmers to work larger areas faster with less labor. The 20th century, it looks like the 40s to 70s, the Green Revolution brought high-yielding crops, chemical fertilizers, and increased.
It's interesting how they call it the Green Revolution.
The Green Revolution.
So I would say it's the opposite.
It was really a yield thing, though, right? How much you can produce with one tractor.
Yep, maximizing output was the goal.
And today's equipment obviously continues to adapt and grow. You're seeing GPS, AI. I don't know what IoT. I don't know, Internet of Things, maybe. I'm not GPS, AI, but it says enabling precision agriculture, self-driving tractors, real-time data optimization. These tractors are thinking for you. You've got drones, automated tools, all these technological advantages for commercial operations continue to kind of arise and push and squeeze the little man out of it. But I guess, and
not all of those technological advances are terrible or
No.
bad. You know, some
They're
of
necessary.
them, some of them are very beneficial to this type of farm system and makes it easier to do it. But there is a lot. The focus of yield versus nutrient, healthy, dense food is the problem, I would say.
So in order to get the yield up, you have to give in quality. That's the simplest way to put it.
And I would say no to that too. I think we can have great yields with healthy food too. Like a healthy plant is going to produce a lot of yield. But they only focused on the yield instead of focusing on all of it. And overall soil health and regeneration, they focused on one thing, yield. So let's get that one number up, and that's all we care about.
And obviously, I talked about this with, I did an episode with Joe Norman, who used to work out here at the farm, picking eggs for you guys. But we talked about landscaping a little bit because he has his landscaping company there. But we talked about how the lawn is the largest irrigated crop in the United States by I forget what the numbers is, but like millions of it. It's like an astronomical amount of more acreage that we put towards our lawns than growing food. And that's not the way that the world should be doing things. It's not like, who cares? I mean, it's nice to have that, I guess, if you all want to do activities and stuff, but like, do you really need your yard? Like, what are you doing with your front yard?
It's a learned behavior though, because I think it came from, if I'm not mistaken, in the Victorian age, rich people would flaunt their lawns, showing that they're wealthier than everybody else by going to get their food from somewhere else, and we can show off our lawn and how pretty it is. And now people do the same thing. It's just a learned behavior. And we need to use our lawns to feed our neighbor.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, talk to me a little bit more then about the growth or the transition of the farm from your dad into, you said it kind of took a step back in that generational disconnect, and then you built it back up, or how did it get built back up there?
So he retired, and I originally didn't think I was going to get into agriculture. So I went to school for architecture, and I made it one semester and realized that I didn't want to live in a big city to be an architect. So I decided to switch to business, and business.
You're good.
There we go. Business wasn't for me either. I just didn't see, there's like a ton of people going into it, and people getting out of it weren't getting into it. Most were lenders and realtors and all things that you can do without your degree. So I kind of got out of that and had an opportunity to start farming because my dad still had his land. So I started out with about 300 acres and worked part-time as a painter too.
How old were you at this time when you started farming?
2009.
Okay.
So I would have been, 22.
Okay. Because I don't know when you married someone I graduated high school with. I graduated with Chrissy. Is Christina? I don't know what she goes by
Christy.
these days. Christy. Yeah.
Yep.
How does that work into the timeline? When did you, I guess you have a family?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then after I started farming, met my wife in 2000 and, we got married in 2015.
Okay. So you were starting to build this then, kind of to that 2009 time. You started out, how many acres you said?
300
acres. And then we were just farming crops?
Yes. I was just a conventional farmer at the time.
Did you have a start on the chickens or any of that stuff out here? No, none of that.
Nothing.
Okay.
All I did was crops. I had horses, because Dad and I loved horses and working with horses. So I always loved animals, but agriculture at that time, what I was exposed to, it was conventional farming.
Okay.
And so I was going to build a conventional farm. Getting into it, there's a huge hurdle trying to build a conventional farm from 300 acres and on upward. And it's very competitive. It's pretty cutthroat at times too. I mean, you have to get more acreage to build is the only way to do it. And so that means someone else isn't farming that acreage. So anyway, I, grew the operation, rented another 600 acres, then had another opportunity to farm another 800 acres around the time that I got married. And that was at that time, I started getting a little bit more into the organic idea. And my sister was always the person that was like, hey, you should look into this. Hey, you should look into this. And I was initially looking at it from a financial perspective, like, oh, there's a premium price. But then as I got into it, I started to see the organic community, especially back then and still is today, is very willing to help. They want to help their neighbor. They want to see you succeed too. And it brought me back to the stories of my dad and how he grew up farming. And so at that time, it was more than financial. It started to become like that community sense, I think started then. And then also it's better for the land. It's better for people. You're healthier product for people.
Yeah.
And so all those things actually is what pushed me to go down further, and then transitioned. I'm still organic, but then started moving towards more regenerative and more circular and animals.
So when did you start getting all the chickens? Because there's so many chickens. There's chickens everywhere. You can come. There's chickens all over the place. You said the escapees. You were telling your employees to go round up the escapees.
Yep.
If you don't have anything to do, you can always go round up the escapees because you have what? 5? You said between 5,000 and 7,000 chickens somewhere around there.
It's around there. It's hard to know the number just because of predation, and you don't always know when they take a chicken. So
that was kind of crazy to me. That you're talking like give or take 1,000 or 2,000 chickens. Like you don't know. That's crazy to me.
Yeah.
And you just try to keep as many as you can, huh?
Yeah. It's a hard hurdle to not know what your production should be or could be, because you don't really know what your animal number is, especially on the chicken in a pasture operation. So, and we're still working on systems to better that. Like we just got a Great Pyrenees dog to help guard.
The dog doesn't bug the chickens.
Oh yeah, she does. She has to be trained. So I caught her today. Bad dog. Bad
work.
dog. No, it will. It will. She just needs to learn. So, and she's a great dog and she'll learn. But yeah, so there's dog, and we have a perimeter fence set up, and I'm going to move towards more rotating paddocks with fencing instead of just originally we had chickens out on the open pasture.
So then you got out of all that land you were kind of mentioning and made that move into organic. Started buying all those chickens. Is that when Acres of Eden brand arose and was formed? And what year was that?
About 2019-20 is when that idea started to come, and when Acres of Eden started to happen.
And the name, the branding, Acres of Eden.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about that.
It's actually a name that my wife and I, mainly my wife, came up with. It's kind of imagery. Eden, you think of the Garden of Eden, you think of serenity, peace, just a pristine paradise, and walk around and pick delicious food and eat it, And so that was I always wanted it to be more than just our farm. I always wanted to think of other farms. So that's where the acres came from, because there's more than just us, Acres of Eden. So that's where that name came from. I will say we're going to have to change our name because we got sued by Eden Foods or letter out. Yeah. So
really?
Yep. So we are eventually going to have to, we got 18 months here to come up with a new name.
Like a cease and desist?
Yep.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So maybe we'll have to call this podcast something else. Are you allowed? Do you have like a grace period?
Yeah.
Okay.
I got 18 months, so we can use Acres of Eden all I want right now. And I'm going to push it until I can't. So it's big corporate drama.
Yeah.
So, but
I don't want to even ask how expensive that lawsuit was.
Oh, no, it wasn't.
It wasn't too bad.
No, very, very minimal because we didn't fight it. There's no.
Okay.
We don't have the deep pockets that they do. So
that's good that they weren't like coming in and trying to shut you guys. Just change your name.
Yep.
Just change your name. Yep. Huh.
Yep.
Wow.
So, but yeah.
Any ideas on a rebrand? Can we speculate?
I have thought and haven't come up with anything yet.
Okay.
So yeah.
You can't use Eden.
That is the one. Yeah.
Dang, they have a trademark on Eden?
I know.
Wow.
And we're not even selling the same products.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, it's a little like, honestly, we probably could have fought it and the lawyer said you have a good chance to win, but I'm not going to take that risk. So
well, hopefully by talking about it on a podcast, you don't get in more trouble.
Nope, I won't.
Okay. Good to know.
Yep.
Well, you own it outright? You own this?
No. So during this process, I've gotten actually Abe Robertson. I don't know if you know. Do you know Abe?
The name
he was my
sounds
age.
super familiar.
He's from Fergus.
Wow,
so.
it sounds super familiar.
Yep.
Abe Robertson.
Great guy. So he's their CFO. Got him involved, and we got some investors in to really start and push on the brand.
Okay.
And
so you've got a team.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep.
And I guess, future is community. That's what I kind of want to talk about and use maybe the last little bit of time we have here. We got quite a bit of time left, but I want to talk about like the future and what that looks like. And obviously you're at the farmer's market all the time, Shawn, and that farmer's market is clear to see how, that's where everyone gathers in the summer. That's kind of where you can go to trade goods and services in the summer. I think they're doing a winter market at the YMCA.
Nice.
They might do a pop-up market. I don't know if that's food or if that's like gifts and home goods or anything, but just in general, I guess, like, how do you see that, and how do you see the ways that the community could embrace itself and build a better community wide like barter system or community wide sustainability? The circular aspect of the farm being almost fully self-sustainable, that's a community. We could apply that to our community just on a larger scale.
Yep. Well, and I think you need to look at history a little bit to see, because it used to be done that way. If you look back at history, especially before World War II, but even well after, Fergus had a creamery. Fergus had a flour mill. Fergus had a meat processing plant. So we had all the infrastructure here locally to process the food from the farmers locally to feed our local community. And that, to truly be a self-sufficient community, that has to happen again. So we need to go away from it. People don't realize how fragile our food system is. When you have 4 meat packers across the country controlling 90% of all, I think it's even above that, all meat or beef, everything produced in this country, that's kind of a scary situation if you think about it. We had a epidemic in 2020 that saw food off the shelf. If we actually have a real war or a real scary epidemic, we're not getting food.
People like that. Let that be a ringing example. I felt like we went through a trial. Like somebody ran us through. There was some government somewhere, world government somewhere. You knew I was going to go there. It's going to there with me. But like there was some world government somewhere that decided they wanted to run us through a simulation and see what would happen, see what this would look like, test our infrastructure, test the stability of our supermarkets. I mean,
and how compliant people would be too.
Yeah. And we talked about this. I don't know if all the episodes are kind of blended into each other, but like the idea that Fergus kind of is a little bit flatter on the curve when it comes to the way we react to things. And so whereas like I was in Colorado during the pandemic and it was nuts. I mean, I was in a tourist town that's overpopulated in the wintertime. And so when that news hit and they were talking about they're going to shut the pass down on both sides of it and people are going to be locked down and stuck, like the tourists were going crazy and Walmart was literally empty. I mean, we went to get some stock up on some supplies, some canned goods or whatever. There was like a few cans of corn left. That was it that was on the shelf at Walmart. And I don't know if Fergus ever got that way or it ever got like frenzy crazy around here.
It did a little bit. I wouldn't say to that extreme, but yeah, definitely. Yeah. There wasn't like we're not going to have food, but there was, I mean, the toilet paper shortage and how laughable is that? And you know, it hit, but things were still running and moving. You know, like it didn't shut it down completely. Yep.
But the bottom line is, when the trucks stop, that's really what it comes down to. If the trucks stop and we ever get to a point where the international flow of food and the international, really, I mean, I believe the United States is a net exporter of food in general. I don't think we are an importer, but I know.
Like organic, we import 60% of all organic food. Imported.
Interesting. So, and I could be wrong about that. We could be a net importer of food, but I
think you're right overall.
Yep. We definitely have enough food here in the United States to feed a lot more people in the world,
and enough acreage
we can get access
to feed
a lot more acreage.
Yep.
So that the future sustainability, you really need to see some industries come back or arise, or more small operations.
Decentralized.
Right? Yep. A decentralized. I love that word. Let's talk. We're going to go down that decentralized, because Bitcoin, I don't know when, we're recording this. Like I said, this episode will be out around Thanksgiving. So we'll see where the market's at then, but it was pushing 100,000. Bitcoin is pushing 100,000 today. So huge moves in that. The election probably had a lot to do with moving that, just the market in general, but that move to decentralization was huge in 2020. I mean, that was probably, for me, I mean, I maybe just bought into that movement a little bit during that period of time, but it felt like that was sort of everybody was bucking and fighting against the man hard in that 2020 period. And that's when you saw Bitcoin really, really start to take off, along with like Ethereum, which is a lot of people who don't understand crypto. I'll try to keep it simple. Like Ethereum, think of Ethereum as a app store similar to like the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store, where you can build an application, or you could build your own currency and host it on Ethereum, and you use the Ethereum to essentially pay your transaction fees to move your currency around in your market. So what crypto really allowed people to do, and the whole NFT craze, people thought that NFTs were these images, people just send in JPEGs, but what an NFT really was is it's a one-of-a-kind digital tokenized asset. And so you could create a tokenized asset of anything. You could create a egg token redeemable for a carton of eggs out here at Acres of Eden, or you could create an Outstate beer token that's redeemable for an Outstate beer. And then you could create a liquidity pool that was, let's say we had the Fergus bucks, a digital Fergus bucks, that was adding liquidity or providing liquidity for these assets to move around. You could trade your beer tokens in an exchange pool for eggs. Somebody else could start a beef token. You could trade your eggs for beef, and there's an exchange rate on all that stuff, and it just kind of happens. And that's how I believe that is what, I don't know how long the financial revolution, or how long we're going to put up with it as people, where the taxes are so enslaving to us. But that, I believe, is...
And just our currency is enslaving us.
Yep, absolutely.
the inflation and the weaponization of it. And I mean, yeah. And we don't need to get down in the history of all of that too, but like the Revolutionary War was fought over 2.5% tea tax. I mean, it's the Boston Tea Party. And we're over, if you really think about it, we're over 50%. And you add inflation on that. Inflation is a form of taxation in a fiat system. So,
and what gets me, and the reason why inflation runs rampant, and we talked about this way back, I think in the Bell Bank episode just a little bit, but our money used to be backed by something, right? The word salary, it's derived from salary is derived from the word sal, which is salt. And so you used to be paid in salt. That was your salary. You get a bag of salt, and that salt was divisible and break it up, and you could trade that for anything you wanted. And so as we went through time, fiat currency became a thing, allowed, people to hold their currency with paper or with something else rather than gold or anything like that. Everything was supposed to be redeemable for gold and silver. And then obviously we know what happened with that. The whole going off of the silver standard, going off the gold standard. And then that really marked a point in history where all of a sudden the currency it literally represents nothing. It literally represents nothing. And that's what's so scary about it. And that's what I believe is such a big need for our community, to build some type of a decentralized trading system, asset exchange system here where your egg is worth your egg. Your egg is worth however many eggs it takes to get a gallon of milk from somebody else. Like that's what everything is worth, rather than like, why is my egg worth $5? Why would I trade this egg? Why would I trade my eggs for $5 that is worth literally nothing? That is worth nothing. And it's worth something because people believe it is, and people will continue to take that. But there's like going to be that great awakening that everybody talks about. That's what it is. It's going to be that great realization that, why am I trading my time for this thing that represents nothing but hopes and dreams and promises to be redeemed for stuff? I would rather work for a currency that was backed by the goods and services and assets that the company or the community produces. So
100%.
Well, and I think you're a currency guy and I'm a farmer, but we have the same thought process as far as like in the future, there is going to be a time where things are going to change and change drastically. And I think our community needs to be prepared with important infrastructure to keep our community going. And obviously food and healthy food is one of the most important things you need to keep a community going. And you also need a trading system. And so those two things, like, are they related? Yeah, 100% they're related. And it's a preparedness for, we don't know what's coming in the future. And to be ready for it instead of reacting after the fact. I'd like to see this community thrive. So, yeah.
You guys don't come anywhere near producing enough eggs to feed all of Otter Tail County, do you? Or
No.
Or out at Fergus Falls, or no?
But we are working towards doing that. Do
you think in general, are you guys...
not our farm alone,
I say your guys' farm is a pretty big player in the local organic egg market. Is it the largest?
Yeah.
You guys are the largest?
I would say locally, yeah.
Locally.
I don't want to say we're one of the only organic pasture-raised egg operations in the state.
Right.
There is a lot of pasture-raised egg operations, but then if you throw certified organic on that, narrows it down. There's not.
And these chickens are free. These are some free-range chickens out here.
Yeah, again, escapees.
Escapees.
Yeah. Prison break.
But at the end of the day, like if everybody in the community decided that they were going to switch over to local organic eggs tomorrow, we wouldn't be able to supply everybody with eggs in our community with what we have.
Not with our current system. But what we are trying to work towards is we're going to do like a membership kind of, membership drive, I guess you would say. And so we get people that love our eggs, that want to see more of our eggs, supporting us with this membership, and then you get a discount.
Okay.
And then it's a twofold thing where we need both sides. We need more farmers, and we need more consumers with the right information that buy the right product and want to support those farmers. So we're also looking to find more farmers that raise livestock and farm the way we do, so we can create a standard and connect those farmers with those consumers where they're at or their needs. And then if they have overproducing and they don't have the market, run them through us, run them to the stores, that type of thing. So it's like a hub and spoke system.
And the mealworm, this is where the mealworms come in. And this is where it's so, you can talk about the mealworms, right? Because that's your thing, right? Bringing these mealworms to market and figuring out, you said that you guys are the only organic mealworm suppliers, live organic mealworm suppliers in the United States.
USDA certified, yes.
USDA certified. And so we can talk.
I should say that we're aware of. We have not ever came across one.
Okay. Nope. And that is like going out to other farms. You can obviously, like, if there's other local farmers that have a need for mealworms, you can be that supplier. That can be part of that barter system. Supplying zoos with mealworms, we talked about that. That's a really cool operation because you have a couple trailers, or just the one trailer of them right now?
Just one shipping container right now.
But add a couple containers, you guys could supply the nation with mealworms.
Well, I mean, we could, I guess, but it would be a lot of shipping containers, depending on, but
Yeah. But that's like, that's a cool thing. And then, so that goes into where do the mealworms come from themselves? They just reproduce themselves and then they eat themselves?
Well, it's actually a beetle. It's a darkling beetle. Shawn, do you want to, or do you want?
Go ahead. Yeah. You're on a roll.
So the darkling beetle, it's from the South America, but they lay eggs, and then those eggs turn into larvae, which is the mealworm, and then that mealworm then pupates and turns into just changes form into a pupa. It's like the stage right before a butterfly becomes a butterfly. And then after a while, then that turns back into a beetle. Then they mate, lay more eggs, cycle continues. So there's three main stages. There's the darkling beetle, then there's I should say four if you count the egg, and then the mealworm, the larva, and then the pupa stage, and then back to the beetle.
What do they eat? The sawdust?
Well,
is that what's in there? Sawdust, or what is that?
They eat
corn.
Well, they eat the oats that we mainly
alfalfa.
oats. Yep.
Okay, so you grow that, feed that to the mealworms. The mealworms. And you feed the beetles once the beetles are old, you said?
So, no, we feed the mealworms that oats, that substrate.
Yep. And then the mealworms get fed to the chickens, or the beetles get fed to the chickens?
So our cull beetles will get fed to the chickens. Our excess beetle or mealworms will get fed to the chickens. The ones that we market, we sell to zoos.
Interesting.
Yep.
Interesting. And then what part of the operation isn't sustainable or like circular for you guys? What part, like, what do you guys import?
I'm still importing a little bit of raw chicken manure this past year. I think this upcoming year I won't have to. So this might be the first year that I have enough of my own fertilizer to fertilize my whole farm with my own animals. So then at that point we will be really close to be full circular. I still buy corn seed. All my other small grains, I'll keep back some and replant. So we're getting really close. Our goal is to someday just be completely self-sufficient and completely full circular.
Yeah. And that, bringing that to your farm first as an example, and then hopefully that's going to be part of your business model, and maybe part of your rebranding, is bringing that to the community as well. That circular community. What else? I mean, we talked about this a little bit about doing like a round table or like a community. I know that we talked about the origins of round tables and councils in the episode a couple episodes ago with Miranda, but that is so lost. I mean, in society, and farmers still get together. The old farmers will still get together at the
Coffee
at the
tables.
Viking Cafe, and those problems still get solved. Those world problems get solved around the bar, and we talk about so much stuff at the brewery. But I guess, what does that look like? Maybe it looks like a little bit of podcast time on the Fergus Spotlight. Maybe just a community. I mean, what kind of community groups are there that are focusing on those efforts currently? Anything that comes to mind, Shawn? Farmers Market obviously is in the summer.
Yep. And we're thinking of doing potentially a little winter market out here. We've done, so we did a fall festival this year where we had a couple bands come out, play some live music. They did an excellent job. And just have events for kids to come play. That's also another thing that's lost. Like in an agriculture community, they would celebrate the fall season, and they would have these fairs. And yeah, we have this fair, but it's not like, it just, to me, it doesn't have that agriculture family community centered thing that used to exist 100 years ago, where they would, pie eating contests and all the silly games and all that,
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I think doing outreaches like that to try and get people on the farm and see the farm, see how their food is produced, I think is good. I think more education needs to happen in communities too, of what it takes to really raise food, because people don't know anymore.
Right. It's getting lost, like even further and further. It's crazy. We're getting so disconnected from it. I mean, yeah, it's kind of scary when you think about how reliant people are on the food chain just being kind of what it is and being supplied to them automatically.
Yep.
It's scary. You see, I don't know what it would look like because during COVID, it didn't really happen where people thought they were going to run out of food, and there was like this fear that they were going to run out of food, but they didn't, because they were able to kind of figure out how to keep things supplied and restocked and all that. But
and the trucks did keep going.
Yeah.
Nothing completely shut down for a long period of time.
Yep.
If that does happen, there isn't going to be stock shelves. And even in a agriculture community like Fergus, majority of the farming done here isn't raising food that's going to be directly sold to the consumer.
Yeah.
This goes to big middlemen.
This might be a little politically controversial, so I apologize to anyone who's offended. But there is a chance that in the next, 4 years, given the current state of things, if we go down the road of tariffs, if we go down the road of fighting that fight, there's positive and negative effects to that stuff. You start placing tariffs on people, you start trying to play bully with the world's economic flow and the world's economic supply. And yeah, we as the United States, we're such heavy consumers that the rest of the world kind of relies on us. But if we make it too hard for them to get their stuff here, they'll stop producing it for us. And that's the part of it that I think.
Well, and that was a mistake that we made as a country, is that we don't produce our things.
Our trinkets.
Yeah.
Yep. That's really what it comes down to, is like all of the trinkets. I call them the dog toys, right? Like, and it's not the dog toys, it's Xboxes and VR sets and iPhones and all of the stuff that we just like enjoy and take for granted in our lives. I think the food at the end of the day will be the last thing that we suffer with here in the United States, because of the fact that we are, at the end of the day, we're exporters of food here in this country. So we shouldn't starve in this country, but we will experience some economic pain when the rest of the world decides they want to stop making our iPhones for us.
Yep.
So,
yeah, no, and it's not just agriculture; it's every industry. Yeah.
Do you use AI at all in your out here on the farm planning? Anything AI? You do use some AI?
Little chat.
No.
Let's do some research, but not.
Yeah.
Okay.
But no, I know crazy robotics. I mean, I use for technology and the tractors, GPS, and all of that.
Yep.
But no, I don't go too deep in the AI world. So
it'd be interesting to see how it displaces industries. I mean, I haven't thought too much about farming outside of the equipment, obviously.
Well, I've heard a theory, and there's two things. AI could help agriculture get to this regenerative circular based, because I think it could open up the door for like no pesticides, no herbicides, that kind of thing. It could go down a darker road too. So
just add a little bit of this.
We're
Just
in
add a little bit of this.
We're in charge of that, though, because AI is just a tool. You can pick it up and you can put it down.
Yeah, that's true.
So
That's true.
Yep.
Except if you put it down and it's connected to the internet, it's still out there. It's still out
and
there.
it can hear you.
You can't put it down. No, it is kind of crazy though. Like I worry about it, and I worry about it displacing industries. I think that
100%. And there is a point where it's like, you know what? People were made to work.
Amen.
Physically, even, you know, like we're made to think, we're made to work, we're made to do. We're not made to sit and always be entertained.
Yeah.
And that's where they kind of want us. They want us into this entertained mindset where we just always have to be entertained instead of going out and being creative and thinking how to problem solve and thinking how to better our situation.
Yeah, one of the wildest facts I uncovered on this show that I was so shocked on is like the gladiator games. Those were in existence for longer than the United States has been a country. Like that's how large of a period of history that was entertaining. You know, that was, are you not entertained? You know, now it's like we've got the NFL and we've got other things.
I mean, it's everything, you know, and I'll even catch myself getting sucked into it. Like, why do I care about this? You know, what's really important? So like you said, those roundtable discussions in the community, that needs to be our focus.
Yeah. So what does that look like?
Either meeting here, meeting at the library, different spots around town.
The bars.
Yeah, the
bars.
Used to be the bars.
Yeah.
Like, you know, our country, our revolutionary fathers, they met at the bars.
Yep.
They had conversations, deep political, spiritual conversations at the bars.
Yeah. And you know, I don't know if you guys caught the episode I did with Miranda Lape or not, but it's all about Fergus Falls boards and the need for people to serve on the boards that currently already exist that do run our community. You know, like all of those boards serve kind of their own little part. You know, they justify their own little part of the community that they take care of, you know? And so maybe it's just connecting some boards to the other boards and all that stuff. And maybe FergusFallsBoards.com is beginning something big there, hopefully. So, but yeah, I'd love to see it. We'll definitely talk about that. We'll keep that conversation going about like, what does that look like? Community roundtable, whether that's I would love to see a quarterly episode of the podcast where.
Well, and I think it's twofold too. Like, I think you need people that like, we're all on the same page and we want to have these discussions about our community, but there's a lot of people that aren't there yet. And so there needs to be some kind of education, some kind of outreach. Like, that's why we did the Fall Farm Festival. And that's why it just things of a little entertaining to get people to, oh, this is how you do it. Why do we do it this way? And just ask questions. Like, people don't question anything anymore. They just do. Oh, this is what I was told to do for the last 20 years. So this is why I do it. Well, why do you do it that way? Question things. We don't question things anymore. We just comply.
Comfort zone, life in the comfort zone.
Yeah. Yep. And that's going to change. And so then the real,
absolutely. Well, anything else that you want to touch on, either on the operation of the farm, future outlook of the farm, before we get into some advice from you guys for business advice?
Shawn, do you have anything you wanted to share? Mealworm side that popping out?
I guess what's the best way for the people to like consume your products? Your eggs are at the market, right? In Fergus. Is that correct?
Yeah, and service food. And Dutchman Organics locally. We have a store in St. Cloud that sells our eggs, and we have 4 grocery stores in the Twin Cities.
Dang, and you're able to keep all them supplied with what they need.
Well, currently, no.
Okay.
So we are very short, twofold. The demand for our eggs like skyrocketed, which was great. Awesome. And then the flip side, we have been struggling with, production issues. There is a challenge to raise a chicken on a pasture, and that predation is a big one. So we're getting things worked out there. And then right now we're currently in a molting stage. And then the last brood of chickens that I had haven't started to lay yet. So timing was off a little bit there. We're waiting for them to start lay, and then we can fill the needs again and keep on going.
The egg market is interesting. The yield on eggs, like you can have a ton of chickens. I thought I read a news story. This was maybe back around coronavirus time too, when they were saying that that chickens weren't laying eggs, and it was like an egg fee. It was like what they were getting fed. Obviously, you guys feed your chickens organically here, but like it had something to do with their food supply. And this one food supplier was also like, it was like we're in control of the whole market. And so we're like purposely causing this shortage.
And I don't
in
know
eggs.
if it's been proven, but because I think they would be facing a huge lawsuit, but they accidentally screwed up the ration of the feed that they were selling consumers. And people that were feeding their backyard chickens, they weren't laying eggs because the feed was not adequate.
Did you guys see what else causes that dip in production besides a diet? Like, do you just see
sunlight?
Sunlight.
So like that's another. So if you look at the other big pasture raised operations, so like the biggest one that comes to mind is Vital Farms. They're a huge pasture raised conglomerate operation. They're even traded on the stock exchange now. They only raise in the southern states. Sunlight is more consistent and temperatures are more consistent. It is easier, but it used to be done up here. You can raise a chicken in cold weather. It's not cruel to raise a chicken in cold weather. There is a lot more hurdles and challenges, but we need to do it because we need to feed our local community locally.
Yeah, and you've got like not a barn, but you have a bunch of like trailers and stuff that they go into, right? They will basically huddle under trailers. They have those like heat shield tent things that kind of suck heat in. They're black and they pull heat in. Is that correct?
Yeah. Well, I kind of have greenhouse structures set up so that, the winter sun penetrates it, warms it up. So in the winter time, they have more shelter. They don't run around in the snow. Chickens hate snow.
Do you lose more in the winter than in the summer?
No, I would say I lose more in the summer.
Dang.
By far, just because the predation is at a higher rate.
Wow. And they're just a little more dormant and docile, less likely to be escapees in the winter time.
Yeah, 100%. Yep.
I love it. Yep. Well, let's get into a segment here brought to you by Liberty Business Systems, Best Business Advice. So I don't know who wants to go first, if anyone has something that comes to mind right away, but best business advice.
Earn a friend.
Earn a friend.
Earn a friend. Earn your family. That's I think business for me. It's about the product that you're giving them. Which is a part of you. That's a truth, and then earning that trust to build that community. I think that's business to me.
Mine would, it's kind of a cliche, but Rome wasn't built in a day. I think a lot of business, you get into it as an entrepreneur and you're like, I can conquer the world in a year. I got this. And then you get into it and you're a year into it and it's like, well, I just went backwards. So then you got to keep stepping. You got to keep working. You got to keep, as long as you got traction, you got to keep moving. It just takes time. Everything takes longer than you expect. And then expect the unexpected.
I like that. I like it. So, how can the people get a hold of you if they want to otherwise than just buying your eggs in the markets that we talked about?
Well, we have a website, and on that website, we got email address that you can email us. You can call us. We got Acres of Eden number. Do you got that on hand? I actually don't have that memorized.
218-517-9639.
All right. Sounds good. I'll get some type of contact information from you guys in the episode description, and then we'll be on the lookout for that rebranding, because you're on Facebook as Acres of Eden.
Yep.
You're all over. You're everywhere as Acres of Eden.
We're going to be Acres of Eden for a while. We have 18 months.
Okay.
So
you still have 18 months from today.
Yep.
Okay. Is this pretty recent that all this stuff went down with this?
A year ago, actually,
Okay.
they started.
It started a
and
year
it's
ago.
been talking back and forth for years. I mean, you get into the lawyer world. I don't even want to start with that, but things that you think would take a day take 6 months. So just it's a slow process, but I'm okay with that. So
Yep. Hold on to Acres of Eden. It's a great name. It's a great brand. I'm sure whatever you guys come up with will be great too. And I hope that I can see that you guys are going to be a big part of this community. I can really feel the impact that you guys are making. I hope to see more growth for our farmers market as a whole. People getting involved with it, doing cool stuff. The events, I didn't get a chance to make it out to your guys' event. It was the same day as Oktoberfest at Outstate, so maybe plan that different next year.
Probably, yeah, a little different. Yeah,
because you'll get a big turnout. I mean, if you do it on the right day, you'll get a huge turnout out here for that stuff.
The heat killed us too. We we did have a good turnout.
You did?
Yeah,
Good.
yeah.
Good.
I felt
That's
like
good.
for our first event, I think it was good. There was a lot of community that did come out.
Nice.
It was good. It was a fun event.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate this. It was really fun to get out here. Nice little change of pace for my recording, different setting, different little studio, beautiful room, beautiful little room office you guys have here. So
yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot for being a part of it, Shawn. Thanks for helping put this together.
Thank you, brother.
We'll get out of here. Thank our sponsors again. How's the Hello Gorgeous?
It's gorgeous.
It's gorgeous. It's great.
It's very good.
On top of Outstate Brewing, Atlas Outdoor Services, Stumbeano's Coffee, Victor Lundeen's, Fergus Home and Hardware, Liberty Business Systems, and Wayne Schuett with Century 21 Atwood. So thank you guys, and happy Thanksgiving. I hope you guys have a great holiday.
Happy
You
Thanksgiving.
too.